What's happening, Hardscapers? Today I'm giving away 5 DIY hardscape tips. Let's get into this. So if you're a DIYer, this is specifically for you getting into a hardscape project, whether that's a retaining wall, a paver patio, or a combination of the two and beyond. These tips are going to help you and definitely save you some time, maybe some money, maybe cost you a little bit more money, but save you a lot of time. But I hope these tips are going to help you with your project. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll definitely respond to anybody. And if any of these tips helped you, a like really goes a long way with that. So tip number 1 is a very simple one, but that is to plan and prepare in advance. Some of these tips that I have coming up will definitely help with that, but also will require you to plan and prepare quite a ways in advance and understand how long each of the steps in the process of a hardscape project is going to take you is going to play a crucial factor in that. So when it comes to planning and preparing, getting a good amount of education on the project that you're going to take on is going to play a major factor in that, whether that is the excavation, the compaction, the laying, all of this, the screeding especially, is all going to take a little bit of education. So if you search our channel for any of these keywords, or starting with our video on how to install pavers, all of this educational content is going to play a role in giving you enough education to know where you are going to need certain pieces of equipment and certain processes each step of the way. And planning in advance is going to be crucial in that. And especially when it comes to the design of the project. If you just scroll through Instagram, you'll see lots of gorgeous projects. Take bits and pieces of that where you can and implement it in your project to have fun with it and to design something that is going to be unique for you to build and add a little bit of pizzazz to your project. With that being said, the more complex the design, the more calculation and the more cutting will likely be involved. So you can definitely get into some really intricate and cool designs without having to do those cutting. No cut patios are going to save you in cutting. So choose a paver that is modular that you can use to then create some interesting designs without having to do those cutting, because each of the pieces can be replaced with smaller pieces that equal the same as that larger piece. All these modular shapes and designs really can create an interesting space for you with that. The less cuts for you as a DIYer, the more time saved, as well as saving you money in not having a saw on site to have to cut those, as well as the time involved in that. So design to the product that you have chosen, and that's going to save you lots. Tip number 2 is renting. Do not be afraid to rent. This is going to save you a lot of headaches, a lot of aching. This is a crucial one, because when I see DIYers take on a hardscape project, you just don't know how much digging you're going to get into right away when you're getting into that excavation, and you get carried away with hand digging something and realizing how much is actually coming out of that project in terms of material. So when you start hand digging, you will not quite fully understand and comprehend how much material is actually being pulled out of there. And it is much easier to do that with a piece of equipment. The amount of time saved when it comes to digging with a piece of equipment rather than a shovel will really save you your body, your time as well, and being able to understand that spending maybe $300 a day for a piece of equipment that you only need for a day to be able to excavate a patio or a retaining wall area is really gonna come in handy. Do not be afraid to rent pieces of equipment. That being said, make sure you're renting the right piece of equipment. When it comes to compaction, that's incredibly important, and that's gonna get into tip number 3, which is compaction. If you are renting, and you are likely gonna rent a compactor, do not rent the smallest piece of equipment for that. Those smallest compactors that are available to rent from a big box store just do not have the compaction force to be able to compact your subsoil, to be able to compact your aggregate, and to be able to consolidate your jointing compound. Those are most likely just rated for an inch of material, if that, at a time, and compaction is going to lead to the longevity of your project. So make sure you're getting the right compactor for the compaction required for your project. You can get rental equipment delivered to your job site. So don't skip out on getting that smallest compactor for your project so that you can go into your vehicle and you can drive it to your house and drive it back. Invest into your project, and that starts with getting the right piece of equipment for that project, from the excavation to the compaction and everything in between. Which brings us back to our excavation for point number 4, and that is actually knowing what you're going to do with that excavated material. And this comes down to bins. If you are going to be renting a trailer for your excavation, you're likely getting into a lot of trips to be able to do that. And that's a lot of time. Instead, rent a bin. Have that dropped off and picked up when you need it. It's very simple to do and to set up, and it just saves you so much time in that process. It's an easy calculation to know how much material is going to be excavated and adding a percentage to which that material will fluff up when you excavate it, because air mixes in with that compacted soil that you're digging up. It's simply square feet multiplied by the depth in inches that you are excavating, multiplied by 0.003. That's going to give you the amount of yards that you are going to be excavating, and that's how much material you're going to need to dispose of. When you multiply that, you'll likely be surprised by the amount of cubic yards that are going to come out of your project when you excavate, and will have to be likely replaced with more material in your aggregate delivery when that comes. But we're talking about disposal, and getting a bin to be able to dispose of that cubic yardage is going to be incredibly important to saving you time and likely money. You might look at the price tag of renting that bin and the disposal of that bin versus renting a trailer and seeing that the trailer is not a lot of money. But when you consider the amount of trips that you're going to have to do and the amount of time that you're going to spend in that, renting a bin is likely the way to go. Which brings us to point number 5, and that is synthetic base, or more importantly, knowing the material that you should be using for your project. The reason why I say synthetic base is that it will reduce the amount of excavation that you are going to need to do on your project. Synthetic base panels are these compressed polypropylene sheets that will spread the load out over a wider area, insulate the ground if you live in a freeze-thaw climate, and reduce the amount of excavation by upwards of half. That's a huge savings in terms of your time, as well as the amount of excavation that you're going to need to do, which is the most crucial and time-consuming portion of the project, including the base installation. The downside of it is the added cost in the material of purchasing that synthetic base anyways, but you will find in the long run, your time is likely more valuable than that. So think about using synthetic base, or definitely do research on the products and the aggregates that are available to you to be able to complete your project carefully, which brings us full round back to planning and knowing all of these tips and implementing them into your plan. Research is incredibly important. You can research our channel. If you go to our channel page and hit that search button, you can search for anything that comes to mind, and this channel will definitely help you in that. And just as a bonus tip to throw in there, hire a contractor that is professional and knows what they're doing. At the end of the day, if this is too much for you to take on, it's too much of a time suck for you, and you don't want to get into doing this after listening or watching this video, perhaps hiring a professional contractor is the way to go for you. Just make sure that you're getting the right person. Still do your research in order to choose that professional and proper contractor for your project. Any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. Like this video if you found any of these helpful whatsoever. Any other tips that you would provide, leave them in the comment section below as well. And subscribe to this YouTube channel for more hardscaping content like this. Thank you so much for watching.